Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Cannot be saved. Follow me and
Welcome to the Ugly Radio on the Podmoth Network, a lo-fi sci-fi audio theater anthology series made for late nights and strong drinks. Join us monthly as we broadcast a pirate signal across time and space, featuring stories, songs, and frequencies from a rotating list of voice actors, writers, storytellers, and musicians. If you're looking for high-quality science fiction, skin-crawling horror, and other genre fiction, listen to The Ugly Radio on the Podmoth Network, now available wherever you get your podcasts. The Ugly Radio. See you in the void.
Hey, Twisted Listeners, I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dava.
And this is Twisted Listeners, a podcast about murder
and lists.
And we're brought to you by the Podmoth Podcasting Network. They are amazing. They have lots of really great podcasts. Check them all out.
Yeah.
And this week is a new week. It's a new day. Everything's fresh and new. It's also fucking early in the morning.
I know. I'm like fresh and new. I'm so tired.
Yeah, I don't feel fresh. I've got like makeup under my eyes because I wore makeup last night and I don't take it off before I go to sleep. I just let my pillow remove it. So it's a solid
you gotta
practice.
get those little wipies. That's the best stuff.
Dude, I've done this my whole life. My skin actually gets less irritated if I just wipe it off with my pillow. If I try to use like makeup remover, my skin's like, hey, fuck you, here's a zit. I'm like, cool.
So weird. You should try to have ones for like sensitive skin, you know?
Maybe. I tried it all. I wash my face with water. That's it.
Only the pillow system works.
Pillow system works for me.
That's so funny.
I'm an adult. Anyway, so this is a new week and we are doing stolen identity murders, which I was like, this is going to be great, but I had no idea how fucking great this was going to be. Like,
yeah, like it's not a voluminous list of people who were killed for identity theft reasons, but each of them is like insane. I actually had a really hard time choosing and I kept flip-flopping between cases because they're all so bananas.
Yeah, I changed mine a couple times too, but the one that I'm doing today was like 100% always going to happen because it's so fucking good. And yeah, what's really nice about this new format where we're doing less cases is that we can do these lists and it works because we don't have to find
niche.
10.
Yeah. More niche things.
Exactly. Although there were almost 10 on this list.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway. I apologize if you guys hear a plane in the background. I just talked through that one because I hate having to stop every 10 seconds. So anyway, if anybody doesn't know, I have a tiki room in my house. It's like a covered patio and it's where I record because it's the quietest room in the house in terms of like my family and I have internet. But I also live near an airport. So like every like 10 minutes, we have to stop and let a plane go over. So it's real fun.
Yes. It's also the swankiest room in your house.
It really is.
It's very cool decor.
I love this room. It's great. And the chair that I podcast in is very comfortable. So,
yeah.
Anyway, should we just get into the cases?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, hold on. Wait, hold on. I forgot. I just posted our second Patreon episode on Charles Ng and Leonard Lake. Thank you, Dava, for doing all the research on that. So that's up. If you guys would like to join us on Patreon, it's patreon.com/twistedlisters. We have not done a TikTok in weeks, but we're still getting likes, follows, and watches over the last one I did. So come join us there. It's just at Twisted Listers. If you would like to join us on Instagram, you can do that at
Twisted Listers PCast.
And if you'd like to send us an email, you can do that at
twistedlisterspod@gmail.com.
And if you'd like to check out our website, which there's not much doing, but now that we have a little more time, I might add some more shit to it. You can do that at
twistedlisterspod.com.
Woo!
Yeah, we should add like a Twisted Listers the game or something. We should like.
Oh my god!
Can someone write code for us for a video game?
Well, I was thinking on TikTok they do this pass or smash game for like celebrities or food or whatever. We need to do it with like not serial killers, but like people involved in true crime.
Yeah.
Like,
Or people could also do like voting, maybe on like different lists they like, or submit a list or
ooh,
something.
yeah, we should do that. We can start that with our patrons. There's another Benny to joining us there. But yeah, we
Ooh,
should put it on the website
test
for
run.
sure. Let me
Yeah.
figure out how to write code real quick and then we'll do that. I do have remedial coding experience, but like nothing major.
I just was staying with some friends the other day, and one of them literally made a video game, like wrote all the code and stuff.
That's
And I
so
was
rad.
looking at it like, my brain couldn't do any of this. Like,
Once you get the language down, it's
Right.
easy, but it's that's what it is. You have to
It's a
learn a
different
language.
language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gnarly. So
Oof.
anyway, let's talk about people who stole identities and murdered people.
Okay. Do I go
Alright,
first? Because
you
you picked this?
do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this one, again, this is a hot race of which ones I was going to pick. But I traded another one in for this one because it was too wacky not to do. And I
Okay.
will say as a caveat that the identity theft part of this is one course. It's like a subplot.
That's fair.
It's like one course and like a 5-course dinner. So if you're like, where's the identity theft? Like, don't worry, it'll come.
It's there. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
But there's a lot of parts here. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the story of Viktoria Nasyrova.
Oh, I'm glad you did this one. Okay.
Yeah.
I looked at this one and I was like, I don't think I organizationally
Yeah.
good enough to do this.
I did not realize what I was getting into. There's a lot of parts here. Okay.
Yeah.
So this happened in 2014 in Krasnodar, Russia, and New York and beyond.
Woo.
We're going to start with Alla Alexenko. She's 54 and she is from Krasnodar, where she had raised 2 kids, including her daughter Nadia, as a single mom. She often worked 4 to 5 jobs, just like desperately trying to provide, for her kids and make them comfortable. You know how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just really, especially single mom. That's really brutal.
Yeah, it sucks.
So her daughter Nadia eventually goes to the U.S., gets married and works and whatnot. But they stay in super close touch. She talks to her mom every single day. Nadia does.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Also has to be hard with the time difference.
Yeah, I'm sure there's weird hours involved there. I talk to Dutch people a lot and it sucks. Really early for me. Yeah. So Nadia begins hearing from her mom about her new neighbor, Viktoria.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Viktoria seems to be making like weirdly fast best friends with her mom. She's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Viktoria had told Alla that she was going to visit New York and she would bring her daughter, Nadia, some gifts, specifically that she had for her, like, set aside. And she had bought her daughter a mink coat and she also had saved up about $6,000 in cash. So some nice ass gifts.
Yeah. Also, just send it through the bank. You don't need to physically send $6,000. Just like general
I don't know.
rule. Like
I don't know.
That feels weird.
Maybe, yeah, it does. Maybe she doesn't want to pay like a fee. I don't know. It's Russia too. Who knows what their policies are?
Yeah, especially with the US. It's probably very contentious, so that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Viktoria takes the gifts, saying I'll deliver them to her, but then doesn't go on that New York trip at all.
Oh, that's convenient.
And Alice starts getting a little anxious and fearful about this. She tells her daughter, like, I'm kind of anxious. Like, I hope she returns them soon, right?
Yeah.
It's a little awkward. And pretty much right after that conversation, Nadia can't get a hold of her mom.
Uh-oh.
Calls her a billion times. Yeah. Nadia then calls Viktoria and says, what the fuck? Like,
where the fuck's my mom? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And she says, oh, I visited with her and I left. She was fine. Also, surprise, I think she went on a trip with a friend. So she probably turned her phone off and just isn't talking to you. And
that sounds legit.
Nadia's like, no, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Nadia's able to access her mom's phone log and sees that the last person she called was Viktoria,
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, no, this doesn't feel right. So she flies out to Russia, takes a minute, of course. Right. And then she confronts Viktoria, essentially, like, and she actually tries to flee from her, like running away, like. Oh.
Like Viktoria actually tries to physically run away.
Physically run away from Nadia.
Okay.
Nadia had called the police, and they did take Viktoria in for questioning. When Nadia enters her mother's apartment, she's very suspicious of how clean it is. Like, it's wiped down.
Yeah, that's not
and like
good.
Super, super clean. And yeah, she's like, you know the cleanliness of your friends and family. You know when things are off. Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody who like works multiple jobs, even if she's not doing that anymore, like she's not also gonna have like an immaculate house. That's just not possible.
People should definitely be suspicious if my kitchen is perfectly clean, you know?
Oh yeah, if my house doesn't have like a little layer on it, like I'm
Yeah.
dead. Like someone murdered me.
Yeah, for sure. So kitchen's really clean. Oh, and it's also been looted, the apartment. That's the word Nadia uses. All of her mom's family heirlooms and jewelry are gone, and the $50,000 in secret cash savings that her mom had was also gone. And just apparently Ala likes the secret cash.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. And it's like, just listen, I don't trust the banks either, but like don't tell anybody that you have
Don't tell
it,
anybody,
especially
for sure.
if it's like actually in your home. Like don't
don't
do
tell
that.
them about that.
No.
But unfortunately, Nadia says Viktoria did know about that stuff. She thinks she did.
Right.
She gets a text. Oh, but this is a little out of order. But the night her mom disappeared, she had gotten a text that said, "Sweetie, don't worry about me. I'll notify you where I am soon enough."
Okay. So was that like after she talked to Victoria? Suddenly her mom's like texting her not to worry. Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to repeat that because I like the wording. I will notify you of my location. Like it's like so bad.
It's like, dude, come on. Like
not even faking it well.
This is so like brazen. It's insane. It's insane.
And the Russian police did interview Victoria, but they basically believe her story and they send her on her way.
Master manipulator.
And like they don't really do much of investigation. So Nadia starts one kind of herself, on her own, true crime sleuth style.
Hell yeah.
She's actually really fucking good at it too. She finds a traffic speeding camera that captured I guess they take photos, you know, kind of like we have some of those at stoplights. But there's more of them in Russia. So she tracks down one that captured her mom in the passenger seat of Victoria's car as Victoria's driving. And this timestamp of this photo matches like almost exactly when, or close to when she got that stupid text.
Okay.
And the photo, by the way, shows Ala clearly dead in the passenger seat.
I was going to say, I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Like, was she like alive but fearful, or was she,
and it's like, I forget how long, but they said that she drove around with her body in the passenger seat for hours.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And the picture is like pretty blurry and hard to make out, but once you like realize what you're seeing and like, you know, like it's really disturbing.
You can't unsee it.
Yeah. It's gross. So she brings this camera shot to investigators who, to her surprise, have been investigating somewhat, and they'd already had that photo. They tell her that Victoria also failed a polygraph test, miserably, flunked it.
Okay, so she thought, so they were just being like hush hush about it, but they were actually investigating.
They did something,
Wow,
a little bit here.
Okay.
It was slow to get started, but they believed her like right away initially, and then maybe they kind of like, you know, percolated.
Yeah.
So they let her out while they awaited the results of the polygraph test. So she wasn't like detained or anything. They were just investigating. And Victoria catches a flight to New York.
Of course. Yep. Of course she does. She's gone.
She's
Great.
gone.
Great.
Later on, again, too late, Russian police do issue a warrant for her arrest. Nadia stays in Russia for a while to keep working on the case. Eventually, Nadia is super pissed when she finds out that probably part of the reason Victoria escaped is because she was sleeping with one of the cops working on the case.
Oh, no. Oh, God, that's so bad.
Yeah, and they find out that he was actively trying to hinder, like, stall the case on her behalf. And he was fired, so that's good.
Wow, so it's different. I was like, it sounds really like America, except they actually fired him, so that's
he was actually fired. Yeah, at least something happened there.
Take note.
So she kind of pivots. She feels like she can't trust the local police and gets help from like the Russian equivalent of their FBI out there. April 2015. So like, you know, I think this is like a year after this happens, a long time after. Nadia is told that in a rural area 3 hours from where her mom lived, authorities found charred remains. And this is really gruesome. So trigger warning. She's brought in to identify what are basically, she described as like teeth and bones. Oh God. Like hardly anything left. And apparently they are identified as belonging to her mother, Ala. They believe essentially Victoria kidnapped her and then killed her in some way. They don't know how, and then burned her body. And drove it out to another location for that,
Right. It's always hard when they like burn the body. It makes it
Yeah.
really, really difficult to know
Really
how they
hard.
were killed. Like,
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also
or
like,
identify them even. Yeah.
yeah, and it's so disturbing also to have like nothing left of, person's.
Right.
So
Yeah.
gross. Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
So Nadia goes back to New York eventually, where she is literally Little Miss Amateur Sleuth, and hunt with the help of a private investigator. They both hunt down Victoria, basically.
Well, it's crazy that Victoria would escape to where Nadia lives.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
not the
That is a good point.
smartest. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
And very good point. And also a small spoiler alert is coming up right now, but she doesn't just escape to New York. She escapes to Sheepshead Bay, a very specific neighborhood.
Wow. Is that like super posh? It sounds posh.
It's, I don't know, everything is posh in Brooklyn now, but
Yeah, that's true.
It's the Russian neighborhood essentially. It's
okay.
High density of Russians.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly where she goes. And again, it's where Nadia lives. So it's very strange.
Yeah.
Everything about Victoria is brazen as fuck.
I was just going to say that's another brazen, because she, like, she needs to be near Russian people. So she just thinks she's going to be fine. It doesn't matter. Like, if she runs into fucking Nadia at CVS, like that, like,
she doesn't care. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So they find Victoria living under a fake Russian name. She seems like she's just having a great time, posting all over social media, not being, other than using a fake name, she's not being like, hidden.
Right.
She was wearing furs and diamonds. She's taking a vacation in Mexico, taking tons of selfies.
Jesus.
And there's one selfie in particular. This is a photo I'll use for the Instagram so you can see. She's wearing those super, super reflective sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole image of the interior of her car is reflected back.
Whoa.
Like a photo of it, basically.
Yeah.
The sunglasses. And so Nadia's like, sweet.
There's your car.
Yeah, and from that photo, she determines what kind of car it is.
Nice. Oh, she's so smart.
She's really smart. She goes down to things like the stitching in the upholstery, like of the seat. Like, she's very precise about this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they find the exact type of car, and they basically run through, where are all those cars in this area with Russian lady names, and just finds her.
Mm-hmm.
So they find her, like I said, in the neighborhood where Nadia fucking lives.
She's like, wow, she was like my next door neighbor. What the fuck?
No, she said that she lived blocks away.
That's insane.
That's
insane.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They find where she lives she took another selfie like in front of where she lives. So they were like, okay, here's that. And they also find her boyfriend. She's, they figure out everything she's been up to.
Wow.
You may ask, what else has Victoria been up to in Brooklyn besides posting selfies and having a great time?
I imagine it's not like good shit, but what were you saying?
No, I was going to say, by the way, taking a ton of selfies is really cool to do when you're a fugitive wanted by Interpol.
Yeah, she's brilliant. On top of all else, she's really fucking smart. But who knows what else she's done? I'm excited to hear.
But it seems like she's someone who can't stop social media-ing, like at all costs. Like, she cannot stop.
This is my life.
She's very vain. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what narcissists do. They manipulate. They think they're smarter than everybody. They think they're going to get away with it.
Even when they're being very stupid.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what else has Victoria been doing? Here's our little side plots here. So Victoria was working as a dominatrix.
Oh, was she young?
Yes. She was like 44.
I mean, I don't want to be ageist. I just imagined she was a bit older. So that was interesting.
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a market for this, clearly.
Excuse me, Rory is 44. It's not that old. Anyway, go on.
So she's working as a dominatrix, kind of doing a BDSM sex work thing. Mm-hmm. She was also, however, drugging her clients and giving them essentially roofies.
Oh my God.
Which is kind of a date rape drug.
Yeah.
And then when they were out unconscious, she would rob them of, watches, money, stuff, whatever, cards. This is what she's doing. Investigators think she did this dozens of times, and many men did not go to the police because of the potentially, circumstances seen as embarrassing to them.
Right. I mean, it's a good plan. It's a fucking terrible, shitty plan, but like in terms of like your victims and how you do it, like it's a great way to not get caught.
Yeah, that's what she's doing. And one man she went on a date with, a romantic date, I don't think as a client, Ruben Borikov, said he ate a bite of the dinner that Victoria made him and he was knocked out.
Wow.
Instantly. And Victoria took cash and his credit cards and actually went immediately on a shopping spree. She also went to his house and broke into his safe, taking money and a watch that he had there.
What I want to know is, like, where was he that he could pass out where other people didn't see him that wasn't his house? Like, was she having him at her house?
Yeah, I got the impression she was having him over at her house for a date.
That's so fucking brazen. Like,
yeah,
it's insane.
But she literally leaves him there passed out. Here's her checklist. Here's like to-do list for the day. Shopping spree, break into his safe at home. Then she goes to his work and empties out a cash register
Holy
at his
shit.
work. And Ruben was actually so messed up from whatever drug she gave him that he had to be in the hospital for a week, and he literally almost died.
I was gonna say, dude, what?
So whatever it was,
give
that's
him?
a heavy ass dose.
Yeah, one bite being that out. Like,
yeah,
she could have killed him easily.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Fuck, dude.
She'd also gotten arrested in New York for stealing $532 worth of furs.
Ooh.
And weirdly, when she's arrested, nothing came up of like, oh, she's wanted by Interpol. Like nothing.
Was she using a fake name? Is that why?
That may be why. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, that makes sense.
But like, you think with like fingerprints, or I don't know, something.
Something, right? You would think.
So, this will piss you off, as if we didn't dislike this lady enough. She also poisoned and killed one of her boyfriend's dogs.
Nope. Fuck her. Why would you do that?
It's fucked up. Yeah, right before his birthday too, to kind of time it.
What a fucking dickhead.
And apparently she did this because she was jealous of the attention that her boyfriend gave to the dog.
Yeah, okay, this woman is like a fucking diehard narcissist. Like, there's something very wrong with her.
I think so.
Jesus.
Yeah, and like all of the neighbors, like, and everyone pretty much like that are interviewed of this boyfriend are like, fuck her, essentially, like for killing the dog. Like, I won't get into the details of it because it's really sad.
Yeah, don't do it. I can't believe you read them. I mean, it's a dog, it's not a cat, so.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't have done the story at all if it was a cat, to be frank.
I know that's true.
But I had to include it just to say that that's how much of a fucking horrible person she is.
Right.
Takes it to another level.
Fucking A.
So in New York, I mean, she already killed a sweet old mom. So there's that.
I know, but we all know it's different with animals. We don't know why. We don't know. We apologize for it, but it's just what it is.
It just takes it to another level of evil,
It does.
All right. So here's our identity theft little mini episode here. But it's going to be important. In New York, she meets Olga. I can't say this Russian name. TSVYK Civic. I'm going to say it's like Civic.
Okay, sure.
Olga Civic, who does her eyelashes for her. She's, to be clear, Olga's like, I was not her friend. I was just her eyelash lady,
Okay. Everybody needs a good eyelash lady.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what people do. They have like to get those super long.
Yeah, it's like a semi-permanent eyelash. So they have them like put them on and they're there for like a couple of months or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, and I think she also made a point to say that it was weird that she was using her services because she actually lived in Queens. And she's like, why are you coming from Brooklyn to Queens? It's a long ass trip.
Are we about to find out?
Yeah, why would you go out of her way to,
right,
pursue this one eyelash lady? So she makes an appointment for eyelashes with Olga in her home. And when she shows up, she brings Olga a whole cheesecake.
And please have some now.
You want to eat this right now?
Try a bite.
Yeah. This whole ass cheesecake is just jam-packed with phenazepam. A hardcore tranquilizer.
Yes.
Olga takes like a few bites of the cheesecake, feels sick, and thankfully pukes it all up.
Yay!
So, yeah, sometimes puking is your body doing a good job.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes you need to.
Yes. Victoria stops by again the next day, like I think unannounced perhaps, and brings her a bunch of soup.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Like, oh, hello, it's me again. You want to eat this soup?
No, the cheesecake I gave you poisoned. You have some more food that I made. Like,
Yeah, but apparently she does have some soup, whatever. She's found, because I mean, she's not assuming that she got sick because of fucking Spam,
right.
She's not going to make that connection because that's insane.
Right.
But still, this is really weird.
Yes.
So apparently she did have some soup and she is gone. Olga is found by a friend the next day. She's in only her underwear, lying on a bed with a bunch of random prescription drugs strewn about her in a very obviously staged suicide scene.
So she thought that she killed her. She thought she killed Olga.
No, Olga is conscious.
No, but I'm saying, like, if it's a suicide staging, then Victoria thought she killed her.
Yeah.
Oh
she
my
thought
God.
that's what she was gonna do. Yeah, she was like, look, she killed herself. Here's some pills. Goodbye. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Correct. But Olga thankfully does not die and comes to eventually.
Olga's body is like pretty fucking hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think she had to be in the hospital, of course, and have like a recovery. But she's not just like boop boop boop.
Yeah, she didn't hop up and like.
Yeah. No, it's brutal, but she's not dead.
Good.
She had been extensively robbed. However, all of her essential papers and work visas were stolen. Everything she had, identifying papers. She's also a Russian immigrant.
Right.
And she had tons of cash and jewelry and stuff, of course, also stolen. And she had tried to kill Olga because she stole her identity.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
So I know, sorry, this is like a subplot, but it happened.
Yeah.
The two looked vaguely similar. I don't really think they look that alike, but they just had like dark hair and they're Russian, but it's.
I mean, before I was 21, you should have seen like my friend's ID. It was like, we're both white and we're like around the same height and weight. And people were like, sure, whatever. Like, it didn't matter. Like, it's so easy. Anyway.
Yeah, it was close enough for Victoria, apparently.
Yeah.
And she basically didn't pull off her plan only because Olga lived, right? But she was mid-identity stealing. She had all her papers. She was using her stuff.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. And she, of course, as you may have guessed, she probably targeted her for this reason because of how she looked.
Yeah.
To become a client and tried to schmooze her way into her friendship.
Right.
So, and this is what ends up getting her caught, this identity theft and attempted murder, essentially. Very almost murder of Olga. So in 2017, she was finally tracked down and arrested and charged with 10 counts, felony counts, including attempted murder, burglary, and assault, all just related to Olga.
Just for Olga, okay.
Yes. So I haven't even gotten to Ollie yet.
Yeah.
She faces 25 years for this, and to my knowledge, she remains at Rikers Island.
Still, like right now. Okay, good.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's still, I don't know, maybe because of COVID or something. Yeah, I think it's still pending. As of August 2021, she was appearing in this most recent news story I saw with her. She was appearing in a hearing requesting a private attorney rather than a court-appointed one, which kind of tells me they're still going through bullshit pre-hearings.
Right, like not even there yet, yeah.
But she's fighting it, of course,
Of course.
Yeah. And there's actually no extradition policy from the U.S. to Russia.
Yeah.
But after she serves time, she may or may not be charged with Alla's murder back in Krasnodar. But Russian officials have come out and said that they would like to. Like they had those charges.
Right.
So it's definitely possible that once she goes through this, she could get charged in Russia.
I mean, we're trading like super gnarly criminals for a fucking basketball player with Russia right now. So anything's possible.
It's possible for sure.
Yeah.
And she did also a 48 Hours interview on 48 Hours, my favorite show, where she basically, I can describe it as her gaslighting Peter Van Sant, the interviewer, repeatedly. Because Peter Van Sant is like basically just listing off shit that happened.
Yeah.
Like, so you did this, this, and this, and this. And she's like, no, that didn't happen. And he's like, well, okay.
He's like, we have you on camera. She's like, no.
Yeah.
No,
exactly. That's basically what's happening. She's a total narcissist, total victim. She thinks she's like hot shit. She thinks she's perfect. This is all like conspiracy, right? Like it's the most pathetic shit. But basically, even the most factual things that are like, she obviously did that, she'll be like, no.
Honestly, I feel like these cases, the people who do the murder and the identity stealing, that at least the women, like that's how they are. They're
Mhm.
super narcissistic. Like,
Yes. And in jail, my last little point here, in jail, Victoria was actually beaten up by several other inmates.
shit.
Well, and I at first was like, bullshit, she's just but then it's on camera, so she's not lying.
Oh, fuck.
Of
They
course, this is
got
not a
her.
trustworthy person,
Right.
but this did actually happen. It was filmed, and she's actually suing the Department of Corrections for she sued them for millions of dollars. Maybe this was the delay in the trial. Actually, I think I found it.
Oh, yeah.
So she claimed that a guard was just standing by and didn't help her, and so she's suing the Department of Corrections for that. And she claims that she's now blind, essentially, from the beating that she got to her face, which maybe she's exaggerating. I don't know, to try to get the lawsuit, but she was in fact beaten up. So who knows?
It's weird how I don't feel bad.
Yeah, it's hard. After
It's
the
not
dog.
cool, especially yeah.
No, I mean I don't want to support. I don't want to support
jailhouse justice.
Yeah, I don't want to support people getting allowed to be beaten in prison in general. Even though this lady's an asshole, just on principle, I don't think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
But I felt worse about things.
Right. But our prisons are disgusting. So
yes, they are.
And also the guard, the Department of Corrections claims that what the footage does show, and I watched it, so it's true, just shows a guard who does try to help, but doesn't get, and calls for backup, and doesn't get backup for about 2 minutes. So depending on how you interpret it, it's like he was either outnumbered in people, and or he was standing by. It's so it's hard to say.
I mean, yeah,
I didn't get the full amount she asked for, but she did get settled for $325,000. So
cool. She'll get to spend that at the commissary
on cups of noodles. Yes, lots and lots of cups of noodles for her. I mean, hey, the snacks seem to be based purely on Orange Is the New Black. The snacks seem to be a big deal.
Yeah, so she'll be stoked. She'll be queen of the snacks. She'll be able to use that to manipulate people and be queen of prison.
I mean, she'll use it on lawyer shit, actually, probably.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Fancy lawyers.
Yeah, good for her. Let her throw her money away.
So that's Victoria. She's a wacky lady.
Yeah, she is. Jesus.
Yeah, and of course Nadia is super relieved that at least she's in prison for something.
Yeah, I mean,
she's a dangerous person.
She's a very fucking dangerous person.
I'm surprised she didn't kill more people.
Seriously,
all that drugging too.
I'm kind of shocked that 25 years is all she's gonna get. I feel like they're gonna have to try and do better, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I mean, she's 44, so it's not exactly like she's gonna be getting out in her prime. I don't think anybody's gonna be hiring.
But there's also, like I said, the Russian charges are hanging over her head.
Yeah, too, so. for sure. Oof. All right, are you ready for more crazy ladies? Also, did my voice just crack? I feel like my voice cracked really weird there. Anyway,
also, this is a lady-heavy topic as well. I feel like ladies out there stealing identities.
Yeah, ladies love to steal identities. All right, this is the story of Cari Farver. The story takes place in Macedonia, Iowa, as well as Omaha, Nebraska, and it takes place between 2012 and 2015, with the actual end of the story coming in 2017, but the bulk of it is 2012 to 2015. So it's a long time.
Buckling up for a saga here.
It is definitely a saga. It's super weird, super twisty. So just get ready.
Perfect.
All right. This story, like I said, starts in October 2012 when Dave Kroupa is working as a mechanic at a shop in Omaha. Cari Farver comes in to get something fixed on her car. There are sparks immediately. Dave is, I believe, 36 or 37. Cari's 37. So they're same age, and they're just immediately drawn to each other. But Dave's at work, so he's like, I'm not gonna hit on her. That's not cool to do while I'm working, About a week later, though, he finds her on a dating site. So he says hello. He's like, I know you. And she's like, yeah, you do. And they don't even really then decide to hang out. But then about a week after that, she comes back to the auto shop. So from there, they're like, all right, let's set up a date. So Dave had been on dating sites for about a year at this point. He had just got out of a 12-year relationship with a woman named Amy Flora, with whom he had 2 kids. Seemingly, they split amicably, but they were still obviously involved in each other's lives because they had the kids to think about,
Yeah.
But since they'd split, he kind of hit the ground running on dating. He really was I want to get out there. It's been years. So he was, dating around, having a good time. He wasn't looking for anything serious for obvious reasons,
Yeah.
So They decide to meet up for a date, he and Cari, and they go out shortly thereafter. While they're out, Dave gets a text and a few phone calls from somebody, but he kind of like ignores them. So they have a great time. Dave was super into Cari. He's like, she's so smart, she's so kind-hearted, she's fun, like she's just
Yeah.
really great. So they decide to go back to his house, and when they get there, another woman is already there. Yeah. This woman's name is Liz Golyar, and she and Dave had been casually dating for about 6 months. They'd also met on a dating website. Things were definitely not serious.
Okay.
But I guess she'd left some stuff at his house, and she was like, I really need to come get this tonight. I'm so sorry. You know, I have to come by. So she runs into Dave and Cari, but apparently it like wasn't a big deal at all. Like,
Okay.
Cari was super cool about it. She's like, don't worry about it. Just, I'm going to leave. Like, call me later and
Sure.
we'll set up a time to hang out. Right.
Okay.
So Liz leaves like right away. It wasn't like a thing. And Dave calls Cari like an hour later, and he ends up going to her house. Cari lives in Macedonia, Iowa, and then Dave lives in Omaha, Nebraska. And
Ooh.
Cari works in Omaha, Nebraska. And that sounds like a big deal, but it's a 30-mile drive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's across state lines, but it's not far, right?
I don't know my Midwest geography at all. So.
I had to map it because I was like, how the fuck is this happening? Like,
Yes.
what's going on?
Yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, it's 30 miles.
They're
So,
adjacent. Yeah.
yeah, and they're like, Omaha's a big town, but Macedonia is like fucking tiny. So
Okay.
it's not hard to get in and out of there. So Dave ends up over at her house, and they're getting along so great. And she says to him, like, it's fine. Like, I'm not looking for anything serious right now either. So he's just like, you are an angel sent from heaven. Like, you are an amazing woman. You want exactly what I want. Like, I'm so fucking stoked. So they start dating, and it gets hot and heavy like pretty quickly, which is funny because both of them are like, we don't want anything serious. And then like all of a sudden they're like joining.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though Dave doesn't want anything serious, like I said, Cari works, like I said, in Omaha, and she has this big project. It's going to be really long hours. And he's like, why don't you just stay at my house for the week so you don't have to drive back and forth?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, great. I'd love to do that.
Sure.
So she gathers up some things and she stays at his house. But on like the second, also I meant to say, she works in IT. She's super smart and
awesome.
She could probably code a video game. Very, very,
very cool.
Yeah, very smart.
Love an IT person. They're very helpful, and they save my life a lot at my job because I don't know what I'm doing.
Because it's never a lady. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, actually, one of mine is
nice
at work. Yeah.
So a little backstory on Cari. She had a son. In 2012, he was 14 years old, and I think like he lived with her, but her parents lived really close.
Okay,
like
so it's not that hard for him to stay with family if needed.
Yeah. Exactly. And so Cari had him when she was pretty young. She decided not to stay with his dad, and so she was kind of single momming it, and things were really good at first, but then her family noticed that she was not herself. She was starting to have like not just even mood swings, but like big like personality issues. Like,
okay, yeah, something's going on.
Something's going on. So luckily she had a really supportive family who cared about her. So they took her to a doctor, and she got diagnosed as having bipolar, which I don't even think is a thing anymore, but back then it was.
I think it is, right?
They still call it bipolar? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good, because they did back then, and they gave her meds, and then she was fine.
Okay.
Like, so she was told, it was like she was herself again. It was like whatever issue.
Sometimes you just need that. You just need that cocktail of pills.
Yeah, and so she was doing great, but I think it's important to mention which will come up later. So now we're back where we were. So, and I think like the first or second night, really early on, after she's been staying at Dave's house for the week, he leaves to work, she leaves to work, and then she texts him and she says, hey, I think we should move in together. And Dave's like, listen, this has been great, but we've only been dating for 2 weeks. I feel like this is really not a good idea, right?
Fair. Yeah, give it a second.
So her response was, fine. I don't ever want to see you again. Go away. I'm dating somebody else. I hate you.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That was a hard right turn.
Super crazy. So Dave's like, okay, I guess I really misjudged her. He doesn't write her back. He's just like, yo, you're wild. And I will say, like, in interviews with Dave later on, he seems like a really cool guy. Okay. Like, it's strange how well adjusted he is. Like, so he just ignored her, right?
Okay. Yeah, he's like, oh, that went no direction I didn't expect.
Yeah, and he's like, well, that sucks because I thought she was amazing, but obviously she's not. So days go by with nothing, and then all of a sudden, like 4 or 5 days later, he starts getting like hundreds of calls and texts from Cari, sending her things like fuck you, or sending him things like fuck you, I hate you, Liz is a fat whore,
Wow.
talking about, Liz who had stopped by. She
Mhm.
also called his work like 50 times in one day. And anytime somebody would answer, she'd hang up. And that's what she was doing.
Okay.
Like, she'd call his cell phone, he wouldn't answer, but then if he did, she'd just hang up on him, right?
To just harassing.
Just harassing him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he almost got fired as a result, but
Ugh.
they kind of worked it through. I think that's not fair, obviously.
Yeah, no,
know.
it's that someone's being harassed. Like, that's not their fault.
Yeah. So he's also started to get a ton of fucking emails from her saying all sorts of terrible shit similar to the text messages. And both Liz and Amy, his two exes, started
Mhm.
getting texts and emails more as well. But
Jesus.
but the focus seemed to be more on Liz than Amy, and that might have been
Okay.
because they met,
Right.
So this went on not for weeks, not for months, but for nearly 3 years.
Jesus Christ. Like, wouldn't you
Every day.
call the cops or something? I know they don't really
Well
care about, like, harassment.
Well, I'll get there, but yeah, I mean, after
Okay.
this long, one time she sent a message while he was home in his apartment saying, "I see you with your feet up in your blue shirt." And he had his feet up and was wearing his blue shirt, and he's like, "She's right the fuck outside. Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
She also threatened, like, to kill Liz. Like, over time, it started to kind of escalate, but she never did anything.
Right.
Eventually, though, I think she did, like, vandalize his car or Liz's car. She put a brick through
Okay.
his window.
Okay, that's getting a little criminal.
Yeah, and at one point, I think he did finally call the cops after he got an email from Cari in the middle of the night that contained a photo of a dark-haired woman in the trunk of a car. And Dave was like, "That looks like Liz, but it also kind of looks like a stock photo, so I'm not really sure."
Yeah.
Cari texted him like, "You're gonna call Liz or you're gonna text Liz and you're gonna break up with her right now. And if you don't do that, I'm gonna fucking kill her." And like,
Oh my
super
God.
fucking weird. So Dave's like, "I think this is bullshit. That I don't know that that's Liz." And he and Liz weren't even like boyfriend girlfriend anymore. So he's kind of
Yeah.
fucking
Why
weird.
break up with her? Like, what?
Yeah. So he did text Liz like, "Hey, are you okay?" But it was the middle of the night and she didn't get back to him. So he was like, whatever. Like, he went to bed. The next morning, Liz did text him back and he was like, "Oh, crazy Cari," which is the nickname they gave her. He's like, "Yeah, she was just playing games." So as time went on, Dave changed his number, his email address, like multiple times.
Yeah.
Liz did the same, but Cari always found them. And
Jesus.
she was still harassing Amy, but it was to a lesser degree.
Okay.
For a brief time, Dave and Liz did rekindle their romance, which had kind of ended when he met Cari, but this whole thing kind of brought them back together. But even this didn't last. Then, at one point in August 2013, Liz calls 911 to report that her house is on fire.
Oh my God.
Yes.
This is escalated. Okay.
Yes. As a result of the fire, 4 of her pets died.
No.
And I'm going to leave it at that. It was more dogs.
Boo.
It was
Don't
more
tell me
dogs.
about it.
But
Don't tell me about it. Okay.
right. So before
Awful.
this, Cari texted Dave and said that she was moving into his apartment complex. Like, "I'm going to keep an eye on you." And a few weeks later, he did find her car parked in the apartment complex and he called police and the police had it towed, which you're kind of like, why the fuck would they tow it? It's not
Yeah.
there legally, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
So the police are investigating this fire and they're like, "Hey, there's a gas can like in the middle of your living room." And Liz is like, "Yeah, that's mine, but she must have like grabbed it, and like
My casual gas can that I keep.
yeah." Well, she's
you
like,
know.
"That was in my garage. Like she broke into my house and like put it in
Okay.
the middle of my house." And they're like, "Oh yeah, okay." So they try to get fingerprints, but they don't find anything. And Liz is like, "I don't know, dude. This is fucking scary." So she has to move. She has kids. Liz has 2 kids.
Oh my
So she's like, "This is fucking
God.
terrifying." Luckily, like they were at school when this happened.
Yeah.
But fucking wild.
Awful.
And even when they're together, like Liz and Dave will be together and Cari will start like texting both of them. Like, "I see you together, like fuck you guys, like
Gosh. Yeah.
Dave's getting 60 to 100 of these texts and emails per day.
That is a lot of time.
Yes.
Like commitment.
Yes, a lot. So time marches on, and now it's the end of 2015 and early December. And again, Liz calls the police. She calls them from a park where she was, I guess, taking a jog or something. And she tells them, "I've just been shot." And they're like, "What?" So the police
Okay.
arrive and she has a fucking bullet in her leg.
What?
Yeah. And I should tell you that this is like 2 weeks after Dave realized his gun which his mother had bought him for protection from Cari, had been stolen from his house. Yeah. And you have to remember, he gave Cari a key to his house.
Right.
To stay with him. I don't know if he changed the locks, but maybe not. Like, maybe he should have. But he's like, somebody broke into my house and stole my fucking gun. So police arrive on the scene and Liz tells them, I can identify my attacker. And they're like, okay, cool. Who is it? And she says, it was Amy Flora.
I was expecting Cari there. Okay.
Yeah. So it was not Cari. It was Amy Flora.
Okay.
So here's our like identity theft or whatever. So from here, police don't act immediately. They're waiting to get more evidence because there's nothing at the scene. Though the bullet did match the gun missing from Dave's house. And it would make sense that like Amy would have a key to his house because they share children, right? So, while they're compiling evidence, Liz starts getting emails from Amy. All of a sudden, Amy's like, haha, bitch, I fucking shot you. Like, fuck you. And they're like, Liz is like, this is fucking insane. So Liz goes to the cops and she's like, here are these emails from her saying she fucking did this. Like, can you please arrest her? Like, what are you doing?
Being like, LOL, I shot you. Wasn't that funny?
Yeah.
Wasn't that
And
cool?
Liz is like, cops, why are you not arresting Amy? Eventually, Amy even emails Liz being like, I murdered Cari and I burned her body and threw it in the trash. And then when Dave came over, he unknowingly like took her out to the curb to be taken to the dump.
What?
Yeah, and she sends like tons of these emails.
Jesus Christ.
Admitting to murder, admitting to shooting her. Like, obviously, all this shit. So finally, fucking finally, at the very beginning of 2016, police are ready to make their arrest.
Okay.
And they arrest Liz Golyar.
Switcheroo. You were holding on to that for a long time.
I was. That's why I didn't say this is the case of Liz Golyar. I said it's the case of Cari Farver because I'm trying to fool y'all, even though this is like a really well-known case in, true crime, but whatever.
Yeah.
So Liz Golyar is our murderer, and I'm going to break down how we know this. Okay. So first of all, it's pretty interesting that neither Dave nor Liz nor Amy ever saw Cari, right?
Mm-hmm.
So her car, her texts, hang up calls, no voice, emails, but not her actual physical body, right?
Correct.
Neither had her family, with whom she was very close for 3 fucking years. This includes her 14-year-old son, who she was very close with, obviously.
Yeah.
Her mother, Nancy, reported her missing just a few weeks after she started dating Dave. Nancy said that around the time Dave started receiving his, text messages, harassing, whatever, she received some from Cari saying, I'm moving. I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving the state. I've got another job. And they're like, well, what about your son? And she's like, I offered for him to come with me and he said he didn't want to. And he's like, I never fucking said that. Like, what is going on? She also, at one point, texted her mother and asked her to allow someone into the home to pick up Cari's furniture, which she said, I've sold this online. Can you please let this person in to buy it? This was a fucking furniture set from her great-grandmother. And her mother was like, she would never sell this. But Cari sent them a check, like a photo of the check for $5,000 from the buyer. Her mother, Nancy, was like, if you don't call me so I can hear your voice, I am not letting anybody into this house. And I don't care what check you have, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Cari got mean and was like, you're a terrible mother. I never want to see you again. Like, fuck you.
Wow.
Around this time, Cari's work also got a weird email saying, I'm quitting. I have a candidate to replace me. I'll send you their information. So we'll get back to these two things in a second.
Okay.
So the next thing is answering the question why the police towed her car. They did this because she, quote unquote, told her mother it had been stolen. So Nancy reported it stolen.
Okay.
So police got it. And when they processed it, they did take some evidence, but they didn't take like anything major. They were like, it's a stolen car. We'll just like dust for fingerprints and move on. Right. Yeah. And the car was spotless, like overly clean, kind of same, like it's
suspicious cleaning.
Yes.
Yeah.
They did find one mint container, like an icebreaker's plastic container with one fingerprint on it. But they didn't find anything else. They run the fingerprint and it does not match Cari, but it doesn't match anybody in their database either. So they're like, okay, well, somebody clearly stole it. They've never been caught for anything before. Here's the car back. So they give the car back to the family. The family sells the car.
Okay.
Meanwhile, The police are sort of reticent to like formally look for Cari as a missing person.
Yeah, why isn't she being flagged as fucking missing? Because of the weird texts?
They're getting text messages from her cell phone. They know she has a history of bipolar and she's an adult. So they're like, she's allowed to abandon her family if she wants to.
Sucks for them to be like in limbo thinking that is what is happening.
Yes.
Like, sucks.
So it took a long time, but Nancy finally did convince them. So they're not super worried about it, but they do make it like official. Like, okay, she's a missing person, but that's about the level of care they gave it. And the other thing is like, she's missing in Iowa. And all of these threatening texts and things are happening in Nebraska. So it's not like these two police, it's not like they shared that kind of information, you know, like Nebraska doesn't know every missing person case in Iowa, you know?
Right.
So her family was like, something is very, very wrong. She missed her father's funeral. She missed her son's 15th birthday, her brother's graduation.
So sad. And they think their mom's just off like being an asshole texting people weird texts. Like,
yeah. Well, they know.
Sad.
They know, but they can't get any help, right?
Right.
So finally, the beginning of the end of all of this was when Liz decided to burn her own house down in an attempt to keep Dave interested in her.
And kill her own pets. We have 2 animal murderers back to back.
I know, right? These people have a lot in common. It's so weird, but they have a lot in common. So Dave was not that into Liz. And to be honest, just to be plain, it's because she wasn't very smart. She wasn't like a smart person. And he was like, I can't be serious with you.
Yeah.
So this is something to note because all the Facebook posts by Cari after she physically disappeared are like rife with grammatical and spelling errors, which people were like, this is not like her.
Takes a different tone of language. Yeah.
Yes. Also, Cari's own son reported that she messaged him and he knew it wasn't her because she was like, hey, little man. And he's like, my mother has never called me little man once in my life.
Yeah,
so
you know your parents and what they would or would not say.
Exactly.
For
sure. So anyway, that's kind of an aside. But when the police get to Liz's house as it's burning down, you know, they're like, God, there's multiple points of origin in this house. The only prints on the gas can were Liz's. So they don't have anything concrete, but they're kind of like, we think that she burned her own house down.
Yeah.
She also didn't have an alibi for the time of the fire, but Amy did. And at this point in the case, she's attempting to frame Amy. So then now they're looking into Amy as the person who killed Cari and burned the house down. And they're like, it definitely wasn't Amy. And we think it was you. Yeah. Amy also had an alibi for the time of the shooting, of Liz's shooting. And it was rock fucking solid.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, maybe don't try to frame somebody if you don't know where they are. Like, if you don't know if they have an alibi. And like, she was home with like her entire family.
It fell apart pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. So police were like, this is weird. And then they kind of started to connect the dots on the missing persons and the stalking cases. So when Liz first reported the stalking, police downloaded all of the information from her and Dave's phones. There was nothing on there incriminating, at least at first, because she was a victim. So they weren't doing like a deep dive. They were just looking for like things that Cari was doing. But once she became a suspect, they took the phone to a pro who was able to recover deleted files, including one that allowed Liz to send text messages from multiple phone numbers.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Okay. Bingo.
This program also allowed her to set the time that the text messages were sent. So that's how they were getting text messages when they were together, like Liz and Dave. Yeah, to make it seem like it really wasn't her.
That's insane.
Yes.
Yeah. And because I was wondering, is she sitting there doing this in front of him? Like,
nope. She did them all ahead of time. I'm sure she did some on her own time, like when she wasn't with him. But like when she was with him, she set fucking timers.
That's elaborate.
Yes. They also later found that on her computer, she set up a VPN, which basically hides your IP address, which makes your computer's location invisible. So you can email without it being tracked back to you.
Okay.
Nancy, Cari's mother, also allowed the police to download her phone information, and they found the text about the furniture, including the text photo of the check for the furniture. It was a check written by Liz Golyar.
Bing, 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 bing.
Fucking, that is so bold. Again, super brazen. Like, they're never going to put it together.
Yeah.
Likewise, remember how I said Cari's work had been given a reference by Cari when she quit? Her reference was Liz Golyar.
Oh my God.
She's like, this woman will take over my job. And the IT department was like, yeah, this woman doesn't have any experience. So they didn't fucking hire her.
Yeah, and IT is a kind of specialty thing you need training for. And
you need to like not be dumb. So anyway, the police play
niche.
It cool. Yeah, and cops are like, okay, this woman is wild and out.
Yeah.
So they play it cool, but they get Liz to like incriminate herself essentially.
Yeah.
So they went and they got Cari's car back from whoever bought it, and they searched it again, this time as a crime scene, and they found Cari's blood on the passenger seat in the shape of a handprint.
Ugh.
So they're like, okay, we now have our crime scene. We just need to place her there. So the police decide to lay a trap for Liz, right? They're like, we have to figure out how to like prove that she was at the crime scene. So they tell Liz, like, we know you want us to arrest Amy. We know it seems like there's enough evidence, but there's just not. Like, we need to have her confess not only to shooting you, but to killing Cari.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, and by the way, they determined that she was spending between 40 to 60 hours a week doing this, Liz.
This is a full-time job. Does
It's
she
like
have another
all-
job?
Yeah, I think she was just working, sleeping, and doing this. Like, that is literally, like, her whole life was
Wow.
just this.
Really big time commitment.
Right. It's insane. Police tell her that, and so all of a sudden, this is when Liz starts getting those emails from Amy. Suddenly,
Mhm.
Amy wants to email her all this information, you know, confessing to the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So then police are like, Dave, can you move back in with Amy? Like, we're a little afraid for her because of Liz. Like, they let him in on it. They're like, P.S., it's Liz who's doing all of this.
Okay.
And we
Casually,
think she killed,
hey.
yeah, exactly. And we think she killed Cari. And Dave's like, holy fuck. They're like, so if you can go live with Amy to like offer her some protection. But honestly, the cops also wanted to send Liz over the edge.
Yeah.
And having these two
okay.
move back in together definitely did.
That's conniving and smart.
It really is. Fucking cops. So she calls the police again, Liz, and she's like, why are you not arresting Amy? Like, she admitted to shooting me. And that's when they're like, well, we need a confession that she killed Cari. All of a sudden, Liz starts getting these emails from Amy detailing how she murdered Cari. And cops tell her, like, we have to have some proof, like something that only the killer would know. So Amy, quote unquote, writes these emails saying that Cari was stabbed to death in her car, and then identifies her with a yin yang tattoo on her ankle, which is something the public did not know about. So they're like, well, she was murdered in her car because we have all of her blood in there.
Yeah.
And her mother said, yeah, she had a yin yang tattoo. So finally, cops are like, hey, Liz, we know that you're emailing yourself this. So we're going to go ahead and arrest you.
Oh my God.
So when they go to trial, it starts out as a largely circumstantial case. Like, they don't really have anything because they definitely don't have Cari's body, right?
Right.
So the fingerprint in the car on the mint bottle was definitely Liz's. But that's not a lot. And she could always say, like, well, Amy framed me. She put it in there. Like, she got it from me somehow, you know, whatever. But also, when they searched Liz's house, they found a shower curtain that matched one that had been bought using Cari's bank card 3 days after she was last seen. And they also found a few items that had been taken from Cari's house, including a video recorder, which had a video on it of Cari about a week before she went missing, saying that somebody had vandalized her car, which was probably Liz. So these are like her trophies, you know, but it's still not a lot. And you definitely can't prove murder with that, right?
Right. Right.
So cops have their IT guys working overtime, right? So they've got, because this was largely done electronically, like most of this.
Complicated stuff to retrieve.
Right. So they've got Nancy's phone, they've got Dave's phone, they've got Liz's phone, they got Amy's phone, they've got all the computers. And they say to Dave, like, okay, we don't have enough evidence. Like, are there any other electronics that he allowed Liz to use? And it takes him a really long time. He's like, oh my God, I have an old tablet that had an SD card in it. Because apparently people in the Midwest use Androids, which is like, whatever, but just kidding. Rory has one too. But anyway.
No, it's the same. My husband is very loyal to that.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
It's dumb.
I know. I hate Apple, like, just generally, but like
Right.
phones are way more convenient.
It's a long-standing corporate brand beef we have. I think it's dumb.
Me and Rory too.
Whenever I pick up his phone and try to use it, it's like, it's insane. It's very
like
hard.
To me, it's like using a PC, which I also I
that's
can,
true.
but I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Anyway. So anyway, regardless, there's an SD card in there. So in this case, Android comes through because this SD card had also been used by Liz in one of her phones, and there was info on it. So the IT team searches it and they go way deep. They pull up photos, and these photos are fucking disturbing. They show what experts later testified were photos of decaying flesh, specifically a foot with a yin yang tattoo on it.
Oh my God. Is that like a trophy for her? Just
exactly.
That's because she never sent that to anyone.
Mm-hmm. There was also another photo of decaying flesh with a Chinese symbol, a tattoo with the Chinese symbol for mother on it. And Cari's mother confirmed that she had that same tattoo, which also, P.S., like, don't do that. I understand that Cari was like a child of the 90s. Don't do that. Anyway,
Yeah.
so this is what nailed Liz to the wall. And finally, in 2017, 5 years after this shit all started, she was convicted of murder and given life in prison for the murder of Cari, plus 18 to 20 years for the arson of her own home.
Yeah.
She is a diehard narcissist. She's just like the other chick where she's just like constantly, it wasn't me, I didn't do it. She's like angry. In her interviews, she's like fucking pissed. Like, how dare you like think
just
that
like,
I did this?
Just like Viktoria, they're like peas in a pod.
Yes, they really are.
A narcissistic pod.
A terribly narcissistic pod. Okay, so I have a couple more notes just because this case goes on forever.
No worries.
This could have been a Patreon. So anyway, like I said, to this day, she claims that she's innocent. And Cari has never been found because Liz is never going to give up where she dumped her. And if she did, in fact, have her thrown away in the trash, she'll never be found because bodies that go to the dump are like never fucking found.
Correct. Yeah.
Second, during all of this, Liz had a boyfriend.
What?
Yeah. And she lived with him for a lot of this time.
What the fuck? Why? I have so many questions. She's obsessed with Dave. Like her whole life is committed to being obsessed with Dave. So she's obviously not that into this boyfriend.
Oh, she's not at all. But this guy like loved her. He treated her super well. He bought her things. He was so nice to her.
This is a twist I did not expect.
Right? And she just shit all over him. He finally left her. Like, but after her house burned down, she moved in with this boyfriend. What? And then he finally broke up with her and she got like an apartment. But yeah, it was like crazy. But nuts. That is nuts. But here's the last thing that's like so insane. And I'll make this quick because I know this has been long. When Liz was 22, she had her first child. She ended up dating a guy when the baby was little. She was not with the father of the child.
Yeah.
This son that she had was apparently a really unhappy baby. He was like colicky maybe. He was always crying. He was very challenging. And Liz's mother would like help take care of the baby. Liz would take care of the baby. Her boyfriend would take care of the baby. Her mother came over to babysit one day and the baby was already down for a nap and noticed he was super quiet. She finally went in and checked on him and he was dead. So it's a long story that I'll cut to the chase. Liz's boyfriend, who had developmental delays, by the way, like fairly severe ones, was blamed for the murder of the baby. And he was blamed like accidental because he was like, oh yeah, I tossed the baby up in the air and catch him. Like maybe I did it too hard.
Okay.
But later on, he also said, well, Liz told me the day before that she dropped the baby. So, but at the time, like he was grilled in an interrogation room with no lawyer for like 8 hours. And he finally,
oh my God,
so fucked, right?
Awful.
But a big part of his conviction wasn't that confession. It was a bunch of letters that he wrote to Liz from prison, admitting to what he did and asking her to cover for him. And his family was like, the things he was writing and the like way that he was writing, he's not smart enough to do this. Like he's not able to write these letters.
Doesn't fit with him.
Yeah, or come up with this plan for her to say she dropped the baby. Like, so now it's thought that Liz fucking killed her baby because they all said, everybody, her own family, they were like, oh, she was so happy after her baby died. Like it was like she had a new lease on life.
That is an unusual reaction. Yes.
Yeah.
Very unusual.
It's now thought like he only did like 8 years because it was deemed to be like accidental, you know?
Right.
But he still has this on his record. And we're all pretty sure that she fucking killed this baby and framed him, especially since that's kind of her thing.
And then did the letters and like, that totally tracks with her MO.
Probably told him like, write me letters and write your name far at the bottom. Like leave a lot of space. And then she fucking finished them, you know, like God knows. So anyway, that's just the little cherry on top of this.
Oh my God. She killed animals. She killed a baby. Like,
yeah, she killed a woman
and a whole lady.
The last thing I want to say is that Dave and Nancy, so Cari's mother and Dave, they go around together and they go on talk shows. And he said that he's dedicated to like spreading the word about how wonderful Cari was because he felt like responsible for what happened to her. And so he's tried to keep her memory alive. So,
I mean, it's not Dave, but you just happened to meet this one really, you know, bananas lady.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's in prison forever, but she's like staunchly denies having anything to do with any of this. She was the victim, blah, 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 blah. So,
okay.
Pretty fucking wild, right?
Ooh, yeah, these cases are a doozy.
Yes. those were fun. I hope everybody enjoyed those.
Yeah.
This actually didn't run that long, but let's just get
No.
through it so we can say goodbye to everybody and let everybody go about their day, having listened now that their lives are enriched by these stories.
Yeah.
Thanks again, everybody, for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for all the positive feedback about the new format of the show. I think everybody's happier with it. I know I am. And based on the ratings and reviews and feedback we've been getting, you
Yeah.
guys are too, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's great. It's nice to get more in depth into certain things. And
Yeah.
my case for part 2, I was just telling Cindy before we started recording that it's like one of the worst things I've ever known about.
Yeah.
Most brutal things I've ever read. So I'm glad I have more time to get into that.
Mine's a little more pedestrian, but I mean, it's
Okay.
still a stolen identity murder, so it's definitely interesting. It's not like this one though, so I wanted to start strong. Anyway, tell all your friends, tell your family, tell everybody who likes true crime to listen to us.
Yeah.
Give us shout outs where you can. We love you. We appreciate you. And until next week or next case, whatever.
Yeah. 2 days from
Sorry.
now.
Yeah.
Stay
Off our
list.
Oh, I should save that for Halloween. Bye.